Welcome CSE 102 W1 for Summer D 2020. This is going to be a Mac version of doing WD01 using Word and using Office for Mac. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go to our course in My Warren. We're going to go to Documents and Resources first. We're going to look for Unit 3. Here's Unit 3, and there's instructions here. These are the Windows instructions right now. I'll put different instructions if they need to for Mac, but you really shouldn't. But I'm going to open these up, and as a PDF, they'll open in a separate area. And when I do it for Windows, I do a word intro, then I actually do the exercise. So we're going to just be focusing on the exercise here. And also, in that same area, I'm going to look at the business letter diagram, because we're just going to do a business letter and an envelope, which we can do in Word for Mac in one document, and it's going to be like this. So again, we have a return address, we have our inside address, we have our salutation, we have the body of our letter, we have our closing, our signature line, all that kind of stuff. That's what this is for, just to get you used to writing a business letter, since everybody should know how to do that. And even if you don't feel like typing this, I even put some text there to do that. So this is the sample that you're going to use. These are the instructions, and we're going to start this from a new document. So I'm going to go to Word on a Mac, and I'm just going to go File New. And one thing I just want to point out is that if we want to change the margins on here, and right here it says make it a 1.25 on the left and 1.25 on the right. So we're going to change that. So in Word, we'll change that. We'll go to Margins, and we'll go to Custom, and we'll just make sure that on the left they're 1.25, and you have to type that in. Don't use the up and down, and 1.25 on the right. So there'll still be an inch on the top and an inch on the bottom, but we'll make them 1.25. And that'll just bring them in a little bit tighter. So that's all we have to do there. And I'll go back to my Home tab here. Now, one thing I just want to point out, if you start typing here and you hit return, by default, you might see something like this where it's in the Calibri font and there's space after, because it's single spacing, but there's some additional space here. And that's because if you go to your line spacing here, now you don't have the button in the Windows version where you can open up this, but if you go to line spacing options, it'll open this up, and you can see that there's space 10 point after each paragraph return. That means that's why it's putting space there. Also, the font is Calibri. Now we're going to change that, so I'm just going to wipe this all out, backspace, and just have nothing there. And what I'm going to do is go to my style here, and I'm going to right click on my normal style and say modify, and I'm going to change this to Times New Roman, just regular. And I'm going to change my font to 12, just so it does that every time I open a new document. And also, to change the spacing, you might say, well, where do I change the spacing? If I go down here to Format, and I go to Paragraph, that'll take me to this place, and I'm just going to put that down to 0, so that every document I make, I don't want it to have any extra spacing, and I don't want it to be in Calibri, unless you have a need to do that, but we're going to stick with Times for now. So I'm going to hit OK, but before I do that, put Add to Template, because normal is the default template for how it's set up. So that way when you hit OK and you make a new document, if I went here and made a new document, here's a new document, and I started typing, it's going to be in Times New Roman 12 point, and if I hit return, you can see now there's not that extra space. So I just want to set that up by default so you don't accidentally have extra space in there. So I'll close this one up, and I won't save it. And this one is the one I started working on, and I'm going to save this as WD01 biz letter, and I'll just call it WD01 _ bizlet, and I'll put my last name, first initial, and I think for this class I have a documents folder, and I'll even put it in my Word folder, and I'll save that. So I'm all ready to go here with my letter. I changed my margins on the left and right side. I changed my default font. So what I'm going to do next, I'm actually going to copy stuff because I don't want to go through typing it. Obviously you could type your address here just like it is in the sample, but what I'm going to do is go back to Documents and Resources, and I also put, I believe, biz letter text. I put this in here just so if you don't feel like typing it, you could put this in here. Now it should open up in a separate tab. I'm just going to highlight this stuff right now, and just to show you the different parts, and I'll go back to Word, and these basically have returns. Now they're in the wrong font right now. If I go here and say keep text only, it should put it in the Times font, and now you can see that it's Times New Roman 12, but if not, you could have just changed that. And I'll just put my name here. I'll just put Steve Smith. I'll use a fake name and I'll leave it on your street. I'll leave all this stuff here. I don't have to change anything right now. So that's my return address. If you're ever confused which one goes first, if you think of a letterhead should have your address on it, and that's why this goes first. And then I'm going to hit return, two returns, and I'm going to insert the date. Now there's no insert date like there is in Windows. If you look for date, you're not going to find it. Unless you try to stretch it out, you might see something, but I don't see, oh wait, here it is. If you don't see it here, you could go to insert date. They'll have it in this area here, date and time. But if you stretch this out, now I see there's a little clock here, so I could use this one. But again, you could use insert up there. And I'm going to go insert, and today is June 13th, 2020, so I'll insert that in there. And I'm not going to worry about moving it over yet. I'll talk about doing that with a tab, and I'll hit return, and then I'll put the delivery address, and whatever they call that, I'll just make sure I use the right term. You could see that's the inside address. That's where it's going to. And I'm just going to copy that from here. So I'll copy that so I don't have to type all that and take your time doing that. So that's the inside address that I'm copying right now. And I'll go back to Word. And there's the inside address. And again, when I get this little icon here, I'm going to choose Keep Text Only. That won't use any other formatting text. That'll use the one that's in this document. And then I'm also going to do 2 returns. I'm going to do another one and then another one, actually 3 altogether, so that there's 2 spaces in between. So when I start typing the body of my letter here, you know, to who it may concern or whatever you want to use for it. I don't like to who it may concern. I actually like using, you know, attention, whoever it's going to. So I like doing this. So I'm going to copy that just to show you. And I'll put this in here. So that's my salutation, and I'll put Keep Text Only. I'm just going to put a colon there. And then again, just 2 returns now, so there's 1 space in between. So the only place I have 2 returns is just separating the return address, the date, and the inside address from the start of the letter. So here's the start of my letter, and again, I'm just gonna copy it. So I'll go back here, and this is my letter, the body of my letter. And I'm going to go back here and just paste it for now. Again, make sure that I change this to Keep Text Only. And I actually want an extra space in here, so I'm going to just put an extra return in there. So it's a very short cover letter that we have in here. And then I'm also going to go at the end here and hit 2 returns again. And eventually we'll use space after instead of always using extra returns. But for now, we'll just do this. And I'll just put sincerely. And I'll put a bunch of returns, extra space. And make sure I have that spelled right. And I'll just put, you know, Stephen M. Smith. I'll use that. Make sure I don't misspell my own name. So I'll use that. And notice you could leave it like this. You don't have to tab these things over. But to get used to using a tab, what I'm going to do now, and I'll also save it, is I'll highlight everything. I could put my cursor in here and do Command A. If you're on a Mac, do Command A. And I'll go to my Home tab. And I'll go into this area where it has line spacing options, and it'll open up your paragraph settings, and we're going to go down here to tabs, and we're going to set a tab, I think, at 3.5. Now, don't do anything down here. Whether you're on Windows or Mac, don't do anything with the default. Leave that alone. You're going to go up here and put in 3.5, and I think it's going to be a left tab, and you shouldn't have to put anything else, and you could just hit plus. That means set. So if you just hit plus, that means that's your tab that you have set. And if you wanted to clear it, you could clear it. But I'm going to put it back in here, 3.5, and then set it with the plus sign, and then hit OK. And it's set. Now nothing happens. So if you're wondering, well, why isn't anything happening? Because when you set a tab, that just puts a little marker where you could tab things over to. So I did it for everything. I'm only going to use it selectively. So that means I'm only going to go up here to the date and put my cursor right here. I'm just going to click there and then hit tab and tab it over. And then I'm going to go down here and hit tab, and then go down here and hit tab. That's setting a tab. Some people have such a hard time setting a tab, but it's fairly easy. And you can move it. You can grab it here, move it around if you need to. Now, I don't have anything highlighted. That's why text isn't moving. So if I highlighted all my text and moved it around, then that would move. But I'm going to put it back at 3.5 and just leave it there. So everything looks okay. That's my letter. Now I'm just going to put in my signature right here. So I'm just going to go on one of the returns right after it. Now it's going to bump things around until I fix this. So what I'm going to do is go back to my Warren. Now I'm actually done with this for now. So I'm going to close that up. And you can see what it looks like. It's going to say my signature down there because I don't want to give you my real signature. So I'm going to go here, and there should be a signature in here, my signature.jpg. Now you could download this. You could right click and do save link as. I don't think they have a save image. They're save link as. And you could download this into your documents, into that folder, into the Word folder, and you could download that JPEG. I could do that. And no need to open it up because you're going to insert it. You could also do this. You could actually click on it and then say copy image. You could do that too. That'll work fine too. You could do it either way. But I'm going to go back to Word and I'm going to go here. Now I copied image. If I just paste, it's going to paste it in there, except I'm going to undo that. If you're wondering why it didn't show up, it's because you have to do paste special. You'd have to do edit and then go paste special and choose a picture. Make sure it's a TIFF, otherwise it's using HTML format by default. So you'd have to do that and insert it in there. And then to make it so it floats around, you can double click on it. So double click on it and then just do in front of text. Now I'm not sure why this little thing's showing up down there, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab it and move it over here. It's acting kind of weird right now, but I'm just going to put it there right now, and it should float around to wherever you want it. Now this is a JPEG, so it's not transparent, so it will cover up over your text. That's why I put enough returns here, but that's all you really have to do. And if you need another return, you could go here and hit a return again. Now, if you did that, it may not use the tab, so you're going to have to tab over again. So if you had it bigger or smaller, and you can scale this, you can move this. This is acting weird. I'm not sure why this is doing this. And actually, I'm going to delete this a second because I'm just curious if it's because I pasted it. So I'll show you the other method of doing this. I'm just going to put my cursor there, and I'm going to say insert, and I'm going to go to pictures and picture from file, and there's my signature, so it went right to that folder, my signature, and I'll insert it this way. Now it's still doing this. This is a little, I don't know, glitchy kind of thing going on there. You shouldn't see this around it. This should be around it here. But anyway, I'm still going to double click on it and then make sure I do in front of text. So that'll allow it to float around. And again, this is weird. I don't know why that's happening, but I'll just kind of move it where it should be. I could close this up. And again, I'll move it over a little bit. It's acting really weird, but that way if it's acting weird for you, you know it's not you. So I'll click off of that, and that's all you really need there. So that's all you really need for your business letter, and I'm going to save that. Now to do the envelope, now an envelope is a business letter envelope, which is 4 1/8 by 9 1/2, I believe, and number 10. Where'd that thing go? Oh, there it is. See, it's still acting weird. So what we're going to do, seems like when I click on it, it's there, and I click on and I scroll, it goes away. It's weird. But anyway, we're going to insert an envelope. And don't worry, if you have a problem there, I'll click on it when I open it up and look at it. But we're going to insert an envelope. So I'm going to do that under mailings. And I'm going to go to envelopes. And it's not putting anything for delivery, anything return. Now, if you want to, I think you can highlight this, or you could even highlight this and copy it. Let's see what happens here. I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to go to envelopes. And it's putting it as the delivery address, which is fine. And it says insert this envelope into the active document, and you could do that. That would be helpful to do that. And if you're not sure what kind of envelope it is, if you just go to page setup, I think that'll have the options for it. So it's a number 10 envelope, 4 1/8 by 9 1/2. That's standard. And I'll just hit OK, and I shouldn't have to do anything else here. Now it's not putting a return address, but I'll show you what you can do here. I'll just hit OK. Now if you don't like this font that's here, you could highlight this and change it. I'm going to just make sure it's Calibri Light. You don't have to make it Calibri Light. You can put it back in Times New Roman if you want. I'll just put it Times New Roman, and it's 12 point. That should be fine. If you have any problem here and you need to make it wider, you can do that because it looks like there's an indent in here. Or you can also grab it with this 4-sided arrow and move it around if you need to do that. And as far as an return address, there's nothing here, but what I'm going to do is just highlight this and just do this part, not the phone number or the email, just copy that. And it actually put a box here for your return address. So I'm going to go in here and just paste it in here. And then I'm going to make this real small. I'll make it like Calibri, almost like a return address label, like if you have those little peel off labels. I'll make it Calibri, and I'll make it like 10. It could even be smaller, but that should be fine. And that's all you should need. And don't worry about this section break. It does that in order to make the envelope. But as long as you have your return address here, you have your delivery address here. And I'm not going to go over mailings and mail merges and stuff like that. But it uses this similar process to do that. It kind of makes placeholders to put in names from a database. But anyway, that's all you need for this exercise in Mac for Word. So it should all be together in one document. So it doesn't work like that for Google Docs. So if anybody's working with Google Docs, I'm going to record a new video. But that's all you should need for that. So other than the little glitchy stuff with your signature here and the way that came in, it seems like it's glitchy no matter if you just copy and paste it in or if you insert it in as a picture file. It works kind of the same way. So that's all you're going to need to do for your business letter. And once you save that, I'll do File Save. You're just going to upload it, and you're going to go back to your coursework. It's going to be under Unit 3. Now, I don't have it open right now, but I'll just show you what to do just to review it one more time. And give me a second, I'll just open it up. So if it's open and you go to Unit 3, you're just going to click on it and go to this upload link and go upload and go to choose file and then look for your file. Now mine is in my documents and it's in this folder and it's in the Word folder. And you just need the Word document. You don't need your image because that's part of the file, and you just need to hit open. And you don't have to put any label or description in here, and just hit add file. And it says, or if you are finished, turn in. Then you just have to make sure you click on this link. Now, for anybody using Google Docs, we're going to add a comment to do this, but right now, make sure you click on that, and then it's uploaded. So now my file's uploaded. Make sure you had saved it first, which I believe I did. So that's all you have to do. And I think I have this spelled out in the instructions, but I'll double check if there's any Mac specific things in there, but that's all you should have to do for the Mac. So I want to make sure that we had this for a Mac, since there are a couple people working on MacBooks and things like that for Office. So I will have one for Google Docs as well. So I'll close this up, and that's all you should have to do for WD01 for business letter envelope working on Word or Office for a Mac.